Welcome back to World of Immersion. Today we're going to be talking about the best tips and tricks for visiting Universal Studios Hollywood in 2024, as well as the absolute worst mistakes you can make when visiting the park this year. Now, we've been making these videos for the last few years now. Be sure to check out those videos if you're curious, but this is going to be our brand new updated version for visiting the park in 2024. Now, this is a park that I visit a lot. I go all the time, so I feel like I have a good understanding of how to visit the park and how to maximize your time, especially if this is one of your first times visiting the park. But before we start today's video, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you never miss when we have brand new content. We have lots of content coming out this summer, so be sure to hit that subscribe button and hit that bell for notifications. With that being said, though, let's get right into the video. Alright, so starting off, the first worst mistake that you can make visiting Universal Studios Hollywood is going to sound like a funny one. This is buying a ticket. And I know it sounds funny, but unless you are from out of town, buying a ticket is going to be a bad value. If you're planning to only visit the park once, then maybe it is a good idea to just buy a ticket, like I said, if you're out of town. But if you live in Southern California, buying a ticket does not make any sense. The season passes are a much better value. They are only slightly more than the price of a ticket for a 9-month pass. I believe they are only $180 for a season pass, their cheapest season pass, and day tickets can go up to almost $140. So if you plan on coming back at least once, it's a much better value to just buy a season pass, because then you just need to go twice to make use of it. Now, our second worst mistake you can make when visiting the park is going to be buying unnecessary express passes. Now, if you go on really any weekday or a weekend on an off-season month, then the express pass is not going to be necessary at all. The lines are mostly manageable, and the express pass is so expensive that it only makes sense to buy it on extremely crowded days. I know those express passes can go upwards of $200 on top of the price you're paying for a ticket or season pass. And like I said, it is absolutely manageable if you go on any weekday, even in the summer, or a weekend in an off-season month. You'll be able to ride everything you want. The park is not that huge, and there are not a ton of rides. So I don't think the express pass is going to be worth it unless you're going on, say, like a Saturday in the middle of July. Then maybe it might make sense to do it if it's just going to be your one visit. But like I said, they are really expensive, so be prepared for that. Now, our third mistake is going to be showing up after the park opens. Showing up early, especially on days that are going to be packed, can really help you maximize your time at the park. It is free to show up early, and most rides will have a much shorter line in the beginning of the day, right when the park opens. So if you arrive early, sometimes even before the park opens, you should be able to hit a bunch of rides with almost no wait. And like I said, this is a free tip. You don't have to pay anything extra to arrive early, and it will really help you maximize your day. Now, the fourth mistake is going to be going to the Wizarding World of Harry Potter first. Now, practically everybody goes to the Wizarding World on the upper lot as their first experience if you're arriving right when the park opens, and then they go down to the lower lot a little later in the day. This is because the Wizarding World is the very first major thing that you see when you're walking down the main street at Universal. It is right there. The entrance is massive, so everybody turns right into the Wizarding World, and those lines can get insane early on in the day. You should do the opposite of what people do. Instead, start with the lower lot. Go down to rides like Mario Kart, which is going to be one of the most popular rides, so hitting that early is going to really help. Jurassic World and The Mummy and Transformers all down in the lower lot. You should hit those well before everybody else does. If you go down to the lower lot first, you should have no problem getting on most of those rides with little to no wait. Especially Jurassic World, that ride is going to have a very short line in the morning. Because it's a water ride, people are going to want to ride it when it gets hotter later in the day. And while that definitely would feel great riding a water ride later in the day, that line will be insane in the early afternoon. So be sure to hit it in the morning if that's a ride that you want to do. Then go to the Wizarding World second once the crowds have died down. Later in the afternoon, the Wizarding World is going to be a lot less crowded, and both of the lines for the two rides, as well as Ollivanders and the restaurants, are going to be much shorter. Now, our fifth mistake that you can make is doing the studio tour in the morning. So similar to Harry Potter World, doing the studio tour in the morning is going to make your line significantly longer. A lot of people go to the studio tour first because it's one of the major reasons why people are even visiting the park in the first place. So instead, you should wait till later in the afternoon to ride it, as they'll usually have a much shorter line later in the day. However, do be warned, don't forget to check the closing times on the Universal Studios app or if you go to the ride itself, because usually the studio tour will close an hour or two before the park does. So be sure to check that so you don't miss doing the studio tour. All right, and the next mistake that you can make when visiting Universal Studios Hollywood is missing Waterworld. And Waterworld, while it isn't a ride, it's one of the coolest experiences in the park. Many times people will miss it because there's only a limited number of showtimes, so be sure to check the Universal Studios app for when the showtimes are. Usually they have 4 to 5 showtimes throughout the day, and like I said, people always head to the rides first, and they always will miss out on Waterworld, and it is by far one of the coolest experiences in the park, one of my favorite shows at any theme park, so I would highly recommend checking it out. And like I said, check that Universal app or any of the posted signage in the park to see when those showtimes are so you don't miss it. And be sure to get there at least 15 to 20 minutes early before the show starts because they will cut off capacity into the show. There's only a limited number of seating. And if you get there right when it's starting, there may not be any seats left. The next mistake is going to be not checking the app for other experience times and locations. So in addition to Waterworld, there are many additional experiences at Universal that you may not even know about without checking the app. So like I said, be sure to download it before your visit. That really is the main mistake here that we're talking about, and that is forgetting to download the app. The app is super helpful for everything from wait times to having a digital map of the park. And like I said, you may miss shows like Dark Arts at Hogwarts Castle or many others because these will all be on the app or on the posted signage throughout the park. So don't forget to check them out. And our next mistake is going to be trusting the posted wait times. I know we just talked about wait times, but almost always Universal will exaggerate the posted wait times. Usually you can take about 75% of the posted wait time, and that will be much more accurate to what the actual wait will be. For example, if it's posted at 60 minutes, it's most likely closer to 45 minutes. However, that's not to say that things won't happen, such as the ride breaking down or something else, so take this one with a grain of salt. Wait times can never be 100% accurate or predicted, so always keep that in mind. But this is a general rule of thumb that it's going to be significantly shorter than what it's posted at. And our number 9 mistake is going to be missing out on City Walk. City Walk has some of the best dining and shopping options in the entire resort, and personally, I prefer eating in City Walk during my trips to Universal. I think the food is much better, and a lot of times it can be a lot cheaper. People just usually will miss City Walk and walk completely right through it when they're walking to the parking lot, and they miss all the amazing restaurants and shops. Like I said, eating inside the park can be really expensive and it can be a lot more crowded, so taking the time to go out to City Walk, eat there, and then head right back into the park can be a great option. Just make sure to get your hand stamped. If you don't have a season pass, if you just have a day ticket, get your hand stamped because otherwise they will not let you back in. And our last mistake that you can make when visiting Universal Studios Hollywood, this is a big one. This is going to be expecting an experience that it is not. Universal Studios Hollywood is not Disneyland. It's not Six Flags and it's not Knott's Berry Farm. It's its own park, meaning it's not going to feel exactly the same as any of those. Don't go in expecting 60 rides and attractions like the Disneyland Resort has. There are significantly less rides at this park, and that's not to say that they're bad rides at all. In fact, some of them are my favorite rides in the world. But Universal is not Disney, and they will certainly feel like different parks. Different park atmosphere, different rides, different operations, different team members. Universal's its own park, and appreciating it for what it is and how good the rides really are and its own park atmosphere will really make your experience significantly better, allowing you to fully enjoy the credible park that it is. However, that is going to be our last of our mistakes that you can make when visiting Universal Studios Hollywood in 2024. Be sure to comment down below if you have made any of these mistakes and if it impacted your visit to the park. Also, comment down below what you think of Universal Studios Hollywood. Personally, it's one of my favorite parks. I've been going for years, and we have tons of new content coming out from Universal Studios Hollywood in the next few months, so be sure to hit that subscribe button so you never miss when we have this brand new content. Thank you so much for watching World of Immersion today, and we'll catch you in the next video.